This video is to demonstrate how to complete a super bill for a patient that has been scheduled and an office encounter has already been created within the EHR and electronic medical record. There is more than one way to access the super bills. If all of your patients have office encounters already created, then you would simply go straight to your coding and billing tab. This will open your patient's search database. Notice my dashboard or my information panel located on the left has Superbill already highlighted, and my patient's search screen has opened for me to put in my patient's last name, or if they are visible, you can simply click on the appropriate patient. You can change your patient's orders by clicking on the last name and making the arrow point up and down. Okay. In this particular case, I'm going to look for my test patient. Type in a few letters of the last name. You click Go. This should narrow down your patient's visibility and hopefully will show you the patient that is in your database that you want to generate a super bill for. Select the radio dial beside it. Notice the select button at the bottom is now orange and can be clicked on to open this patient's super bills, or encounters, I should say, that are currently open or in progress that need to be coded and our fees and charges applied to the super bill, much like we do on our manual or paper super bills. So once you click select, if you have encounters for this patient, they will show up on this screen. You have two sections. Your first one is encounters that are coded. This means that you have an encounter that has already been created. It shows that you have your data service. So this was an office visit, not a phone encounter or phone visit. We are stating that this was a new patient encounter, and this date is the actual date of the encounter. Notice I have a coded date. This will be the date that I actually applied my fees and my codes from the fee schedule to this particular super bill. I also have a status showing that I have already submitted these super bills to the billing department and are waiting for posting to the ledger and creating our claim forms or CMS forms. I also have a section directly below. These are encounters that have not been coded out, which means I have not applied the appropriate procedure or CPT codes, the appropriate diagnosis codes, or the appropriate fees to the actual super bill at this time. So on this particular patient, on my test patient, I have an office visit that is, I said, was a follow-up or established visit type for September 30th that needs to be coded, which means I need to look up the appropriate procedure code, diagnosis code, and the fees from my medical record and pull them off of that manual super bill or that medical record and apply them to the super bill and prep this patient's encounter so that it will be ready to be entered into their ledger. If I pulled the wrong patient, I can change by clicking Change Patient, and that will take me right back to my search screen. If I need to view the fee schedule once I get into the super bill, I can do so, and this will open up in a separate tab. So if you do not have the paper copy in front of you, then this will pull up Walden Clinics. Now, you will need this when doing your exercises for Dr. Larson, because once we get into the super bill, you will see Dr. Larson's fee schedule gives you the codes along with your description. However, the super bills in SimChart do not give you the codes because they want you to look the codes up. If you do not know how to do that, or you've not been instructed on how to physically look those up, you have been provided the fee schedules for both Dr. Larson and Walden's Clinic so that you can use critical thinking and problem solving and actually look them up using those fee schedules. So let's go ahead and click on our super bill so that we can code it out. Since we have one that has not been coded out, so I will click on this one. If I had multiples, they would just be listed straight down under this section. So click on your hyperlink that is blue. This opens up your super bill screen. First and foremost, you can collapse this information to allow more visible boxes on your super bill. You have a scroll bar that will allow you to move up and down so you can see anything that is not visible on this screen. Across the top, you have 1, 2, 3, 4. So currently, this super bill is broken up into 4 different sections. I mentioned that oftentimes you may not have a manual super bill in the real office. This takes you straight back into your progress notes for this patient so that you could look to see exactly what the provider did so that you can better clarify your procedures. If you're looking at your manual super bills, you'll notice Dr. Larson's super bills, or the samples that you have from your MOP book, have the procedure codes listed with the procedures. SimChart will have you manually enter them in here. So first steps first, let's go ahead and open our fee schedule to have it open in the tab in the background, and this is where you can see you have descriptions, the code, as well as the fee. Be mindful your fees in Walden are different than the fees for Dr. Larson's office. So if you are doing assignments and you are completing super bills for Dr. Larson's patients, then you will need to make sure you use the fee amounts that are from Dr. Larson's fee schedule. So just leave this open if you want in the background and come back to your super bill. The first section that you need to identify is actually these 2 little radio dials. We will be using ICD-10 codes. That is the most current codes and the required diagnosis codes at this time. So click the radio dial. Notice you have a rank of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and you have a blank box for your diagnoses. Your diagnosis, this is the reason the patient was seen or a procedure was performed. This particular super bill in EHR allows you to enter up to 6 different diagnoses. When we move into coding, your diagnosis codes will be provided in the primary reason they're here, and then you will have secondary, tertiary, and additional codes from there. So if your example, we'll talk about what that true code is at a later date. But if you have a diagnosis code, I think one of your homework assignments has you have a well visit. They gave you a Z00.129. You would pull this code from the actual manual encounter, or you could go to the actual progress notes to look up what that doctor typed or entered in the assessment portion of the progress notes. If there was additional codes, you would simply enter them as we go down. So I don't know what all these codes are. So I'm just kind of putting some in there for example purposes. So this particular, you want to put them in the order of importance and the reason for their visits. Notice as we move down through your sections on the super bill, you have now blank, empty rank boxes. These rank boxes are used for you to enter the appropriate diagnosis rank or number, identifying number in the box. So if I had a patient that was coming in, I believe one of our patients was a David Kramer that was coming in for a well visit. If this diagnosis is the diagnosis that is supporting or shows medical necessity for a well visit, I would put rank number 1 so that it points back to our diagnosis number 1. If it was, as we get through the labs, if they were done for any of these others, you would select or enter the appropriate number in the rank box that correlates with the diagnoses that were entered in this section on the Superbill. So I have my diagnosis identifier or pointer now linked with my appropriate visit. This should be provided to you either in your progress notes or in your homework assignment on the manual Superbills. This is the fee. So this is the fee amount if you are doing it for Walden Clinic, then you can use the Walden Clinic fee schedule amounts that are provided here. If you are doing the assignments from Dr. Larson's office, then you need to make sure that you use the fee amounts from Dr. Larson's fee schedule that is provided to you in your work pages or in your print packet from the bookstore. I'm making up numbers here. This does not mean I'm pulling them from her fee schedule, but you want to enter the appropriate fee from her fee schedule for this well visit that she has marked on her paper Superbill or marked in her medical record charting for the 5 to 11-year-olds. So I'm just making up a number. You do have to enter your decimals. You have to give me the proper currency format. You do not have to enter the dollar sign. It is already entered on your screen. So if the fee for Dr. Larson's well visit for a 5-year-old is $142, she also should have said whether or not this was a new visit or an established patient visit. If it is a new visit, then you will pull the appropriate code. So if we look on our fee schedule, this is where we're looking for procedure codes, not diagnoses codes. Okay, this is the actual procedure or service performed. So let's go look at our fee schedule. If we're looking for a service, a well visit, if we said it was a new patient, 5 to 11, this is the code. Notice how my fee is different. So I want to enter my code 99383 for this example in my new patient box. If it was an established well visit, then I would go back to my fee schedule, look to see what is my established visit for a 5-year-old. This code is a 99393. Click back to my Superbill, and instead of entering a code here, I would enter the appropriate code under the established patient column. Okay, so make sure that you are entering the correct code as well as the correct column. Okay, you should only have one well visit or one office visit. You will not have traditionally something in both of these boxes. When we get into coding, I will explain why. There are some special circumstances, but most of the time it is not going to be one in each of these sections. As you scroll through the rest of your Superbill or this particular page, look to see if there's any other procedures on this page that, according to your medical record or your manual Superbill that your provider gave you, has any of these other procedures listed. If you have a procedure that says ECG with interpretation, well, I don't know which one is which. Dr. Larson's fee schedule gives you ECG and it just gives you a code. You can go to your code, and this is where I said you'll have to use your Walden Clinic fee schedule To better determine, you'll look up ECG with interpretation or ECG rhythm strip. Dr. Larson gave you a code of 93000. Look over here for your procedure code that says 93000. Now we know ECG is a service, so we just scroll down until we find ECG, and I apologize, there's a lot of stuff on here, but you can see here how you would just simply look for the description that would best give you the differentials or differentiate between one procedure or the other. And that's why I wanted to bring you back over here. You may not know, for example, your pregnancy. Was it blood or urine? If your homework assignment just said an 84702, then you would need to come over here and find your actual code to get the description so that you could match it on your Superbill. And of course, I can't locate the ECG because I'm looking for it. There it is. So we have ECG with welcome to Medicare exam. Well, that is not what we were doing. Our patient is not a Medicare patient. These are office procedures. Here's our ECG with interpretation 93000. ECG rhythm strip 93040. Which code were you given in your assignment or on your Superbill? If we were given 93000, then we know on our Superbill we're looking for the description ECG with interpretation. So now we can go back to our SIM chart and look for, oh, there's our ECG with interpretation. If we had more than one diagnosis code, we would need to make sure that we enter the appropriate rank number for the ICD-10 code or diagnosis code that applies and supports why we would actually be performing an ECG with interpretation at this encounter or office visit. So I'm just going to pick one, say that's number 2, or it may have been number 3. So use your rank box to tell me which diagnosis code this procedure or service was performed for. If you only have one, then you're just going to enter 1. Okay? So we'll say for 3 on this one. You're going to enter your fee. So if her fee was $38, and she told us, because you would get this from your fee schedule, if we're doing it for Dr. Larson, make sure you pull the fee amount from Dr. Larson's fee schedule, and then your procedure code she gave us, 93000. We make sure that is indeed the correct one, 93000. ECG with interpretation, that is the correct procedure. I know the fee amount is different. That's because this assignments that you should be working on right now are Dr. Larson's. If you're doing one for Walden, then you will use the actual fee amount that is found on Walden's fee schedule. Once you have entered everything that you need to or that is available on this screen, make sure you click Save, and then you can go to Next. And you will continue to do so in locating your individual items. If there's nothing on this page that you need to mark, you simply click Save and move to Next. Here's another one of our differentials. Did I do with differential, without differential? One thing I did want to mention in this video is if you have a test that is performed in Dr. Larson's office that is not available on your Superbill, at this point, I think one of them is a hemoglobin. You do not have a hemoglobin available to pick on this Superbill. Just use your hemoglobin A1C. No, it is not the same test, but you would still apply your diagnosis rank, whatever that rank may be for the appropriate diagnosis. You would still enter in your fee, and then you would enter in the appropriate procedure code and fee, even though I know this description is not correct on the SimChart Superbill. So make sure you still enter the correct procedure code, the correct fee, and the appropriate diagnosis rank number, even though your description does not say what it says in your book. You will click Save and hit Next. When you get to this page right here, we do not presume and we do not leave things blank. This waiver box, you want to check the waiver because you should not be doing this Superbill if you have not received a signed waiver stating it's okay to treat this patient and bill their insurances. So this should always be checked, stating you have a waiver on file. If your assignment says there was a copay received or paid, then you would enter that amount in your copay box. If it did not give you this amount or it was not specified, then you do not leave it blank. You must enter a currency amount of 0. Your account number would be your medical record number. You would get this off of your paper chart. If you have a paper Superbill, then hopefully you've already pulled your account number. I'm just making one up. We need to determine previous balances. This should have been done at the time of check-in and already noted on your manual Superbill whether or not there was a previous balance. You would get this information from the patient's ledger. So if you do not have a previous balance, then you would enter 0. If you do not have any outstanding balances on the patient's ledger, you want to give me 0. You have to put something in this box, just like your copay. Notice that my today's charges is grayed out. This is information that it has carried over from the fee amounts that I have entered on pages 1, 2, and 3 of this Superbill. The balance due does not calculate for you. You will have to do the math that says I've either subtracted any copays or nothing. So if I paid a $10 copay, then I would need to enter the appropriate amount to reflect that $10 has been paid toward today's charges. If they had a previous balance that needed to be added to today's charges, I would need to do the math and enter the appropriate balance due. In this case, I had no previous balance, so I simply retype today's charges and I move to my next section. The insured's name is not the patient. This is wanting to know the policy holder, the insurance owner. While that is confusing, if this patient is a minor, which they're 17 years and 11 days, so it says insurance is self-pay, they have no insurance. If that is the case, then it would be same as patient and you could click the box and it will fill it in for you. However, if this patient, much like some of our previous patients, David Kramer, for example, Alan Mitchell is the person that holds the insurance policy, you would need to type his name as it is found on his insurance card or entered in his guarantor information. You would enter that in the insured's name. However, if the address is the same and they live in the same household, then yes, you can click same address as patient and it will auto-populate the address for you. The next section is patient relationship to the insured. That is the policy holder. If it is self, then you would click self. If it is the spouse, child, or other, you would click appropriately. So this is a minor. We're saying Alan Mitchell is the policy holder. The relationship from this minor to that policy holder is child. Enter in their telephone number. It should be present on your paper Superbills. I'm just making up a number for the moment because I do not have a paper Superbill in front of me. If I wasn't sure, look right here. Here is a phone number. I can pull that phone number straight from up here at the top of my screen. It should have pulled the insured's date of birth from the guarantor and insurance tab that was entered in the demographics. Notice here, this has got the insured's date of birth is pulling the same as my patient's. This is a glitch that is in SimChart, so your insured's name ultimately is supposed to be the insured party relationship. These should be talking about your policy holder. Male or female, select the appropriate box. It should auto-populate, but it's populating as if this is all self-pay patient because I do have it entered as a self-pay. Most importantly part is you want to make sure that you are entering the appropriate and correct information. Is the patient single? Is the patient employed? A full-time student? A part-time student? You can enter more than one item. You cannot, yeah, you can. Under patient status, you can click all of them. Just click the ones that are appropriate, okay? But I did want to let you know because you can have employed and full-time or part-time student status. Is there another insurance plan? If you don't see one here or you need to go back to the patient's progress notes, then you can do so to make sure, but it should be specified on that paper Superbill that you've been provided. If yes, then it will ask you later to make sure that you coordinate those benefits appropriately. This patient does not. Is the patient condition related to? This is referring to all those managed care and different types of insurance policies that we discussed in our previous units. Is this condition or injury, sickness related to employment? Yes or no? Is it related to a car accident? Yes or no? Is this related to any other type of accident, such as you fell off the top of your house or got struck by a tree in your yard? That's like your homeowner's insurance. No. And then lastly, am I ready to submit this Superbill? You click yes. As soon as you do, it will open additional items. This signature on file is what we talked about briefly in our previous units. Signature on file is stating that we have a signature from that patient stating it is okay to treat and bill their insurance. So you should be clicking yes. It's also asking, have you confirmed that you do have a waiver that has been signed, so they have a signature on file in their paper chart to move forward. And then you will enter the date that you are completing this, because this date right here says you went and you confirmed that we do indeed have a waiver and a signature on file, and I am creating and completing this Superbill as of today's date. You want to click Save to save all of your information and changes. At this point, you still can go back through all of your pages and make changes if you need to. This is where you need to double check for accuracy and completion. If you don't make any changes, you do not have to keep hitting save. That information will stay there. If I need to go view my progress notes, I can do so. Once I know for certain I am sure, then I would click Submit Save. If I do not want to submit at this time, I need to go confirm something with the doctor, I need to double check a question that I may have, then I could, once I've hit Saved, and I've received my green Save Successful at the top, then I can technically go and change my patient and not submit the Superbill, and it will stay out there. So if I go and I pull my test patient back up, Well, if I mash the right button, hit select, notice it's been coded, but notice it's still in progress. That means I have not finished submitting it, and I can click back on it and I can go in and make changes. In comparison, get off my screen. So we've got to change patients, open up my patient. So these that say submitted, you will see they're grayed out. I cannot go in and make any changes on this super bill. I've already submitted it. The only thing I can do at this point is view it, and I can walk through and look at it. I cannot make changes if I've already clicked submit. So can't do anything. Might as well just go back to my other encounter. And I meant to show you that. When I'm in my patients, say I clicked on it and realized, oh, that's the wrong encounter. So I clicked on this one. Oh, wait, I've already done this one. I can't do anything to this one. Then I can click right here, back to list of encounters. It does not take me out of my patient. It just takes me, see, I'm still in the same patient's records. It just takes me back to those encounters. If I truly want to change my patient, then this takes me back to my search screen so that I can search my patient database. Once I have determined that, yes, indeed, this is the correct code, this is the correct procedures, these are the correct fees, and I truly want to submit, if I'm not making any changes, I can click on my 4. It takes me straight to page 4. Everything is still accurate, and I can hit submit Superbill. I now have my blue bar that says Superbill for patient test. That's my patient's name, has been submitted. And I'm ready to go back to my list of encounters. That's all of them. I've applied all my fees, or I can go to change patient if I have other patients that I need to do super bills for. And I can continue my search. If my patient hasn't been fully registered, you will not be allowed to do that from this screen. So see here, this particular patient, I have one under not coded. That means she's waiting for me to apply fees and codes to her super bill. I would click on it and notice I'm right back to my blank screen. Now for my new patient. Okay, and you would continue this process on. If you go to do your patient search and it comes up and there are no encounters. So let's see if this patient has an encounter. I'll find this one. So let's see if this patient has an encounter. She does not have one. If you get to this screen, then you are going to have to stop. There are no super bills to code out. You will have to go to find patient. You will have to put in your patient. You will have to come to your actual medical chart, create your office visit, select your data service, whatever your type of service needed to be, and create that office encounter. Now that this is done, you can close her chart back out, go to your coding. Now she has an actual encounter waiting to be coded. That concludes our demonstration on how to create super bills from existing office encounters. So you should be able to go straight to coding and billing, perform your patient search, and pull up any encounters that have been submitted to view, any encounters that need to be encoded. So if all of your patients have been registered appropriately from your previous assignments, office encounters have been created as I just showed you and in your other videos, then you should be able to do a patient search and locate your patients and their super bills so that you can just code them straight out as we just demonstrated. That concludes how to complete and code and apply fee schedules to an existing super bill.